Hello and welcome to Prescription for Life. I'm your host, David Bowl. According to the National Breast Cancer Foundation, 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime and is the most commonly diagnosed cancer in women. Breast cancer is the second leading cause of death among women. Each year, it's estimated that over 220,000 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer. Today, Prescription for Life welcomes Trudy Davies as she discusses her own battle with breast cancer while inspiring other women to fight like a girl. Before we meet with Trudy, we'll check in with April Whiteside in the newsroom for today's medical report.
Thanks, David. Breast cancer isn't quite an easy topic to discuss, but breast cancer prevention should be a shared and open conversation amongst women of all ages. Generally, breast cancer can be more aggressive in women under the age of 50. Dr. Isabel Mercier, who is a research assistant professor at University of the Sciences, notes that, quote, college-age women generally do not consider themselves at risk for breast cancer. Dr. Mercier adds that, quote, there are several risk factors that contribute to the development of breast cancer that need to be understood early in life to prevent the development of breast cancer down the road. Dr. Mercier says that women in their early 20s should be aware of risk factors that are associated with breast cancer. The first being checking your family tree. A family history of breast cancer can potentially increase the risk of development. It is recommended that genetic testing be performed in women with a prevalence of breast cancer in their family. The second is watching your weight. Being excessively overweight or obese increases the risk of breast cancer because fat cells create a cancer-friendly environment. Dr. Mercier notes that women should exercise regularly. 2.5 hours of moderate physical activity per week reduces the risk of breast cancer by 18%. Number 4, limit alcohol consumption. Research from Washington University School of Medicine found that women who averaged 1 drink a day increases her risk by 11%. Next, make an appointment to see your doctor annually. Women under 40 are not required to have annual mammograms. Women under 40 should have clinical breast exams performed by their primary doctor. Self-examinations are also encouraged. And number 6, limit tobacco use. Smoking increases the risk of developing breast cancer, especially if the habit was formed early in life. Increased levels of estrogen and testosterone can be found in smokers, which may disrupt the endocrine signaling in women, which can contribute to the development of tumors. Ladies of all ages, breast cancer prevention is key. I'm April Whiteside, and this has been your Prescription for Life medical report. David, back to you.
Thank you, April, for that report. Our guest today is Trudy Davies, who is here today to share her own breast cancer survivor story and the importance of breast cancer awareness and early detection. Trudy, welcome to the show.
Hi, David.
I guess in full disclosure, we've been friends for a while.
We have. We've done some life together.
Since I know all about you, please let my audience know. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Trudy Davies, and I am a 5-year stage 3 breast cancer survivor. I'm an owner of my own business and a mother and a wife.
You were crowned Miss Georgia International. How did you get involved with that?
Well, I've been in pageants pretty much my adult life, and so I had won a pageant, America's Misses of the Year, in 2001. At that time, my platform was self-esteem in women and teenage girls, and so I won the pageant. I used the money to open a company, my own company, the Image Academy. So 10 years later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. We're going to fast forward through that. Got through it, was on the other side doing a lot of work for breast cancer awareness, and in 2013 it marks my 5th year as a survivor, and so I just wanted to do something big to bring hope and encouragement to other women. So the pageant actually contacted me, and I jumped in, and here I am as Mrs. Georgia International 2013.
Well, what's the overall purpose of a Mrs. Georgia International?
The International Pageant Systems platform is a platform pageant, so you have to stand for something. A lot of times people will ask me, as an adult in pageantry, what's your talent? And I quickly tell them, I have no talent, but I have a platform. And that, for me, is breast cancer survival, because my story is not really early detection. It is about surviving after being diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. So I just use all that I went through to bring hope and encouragement to other women. And so to answer your question, the pageant stands for making a difference. So I thought that really fit for me because, you know, after what I've been through, that's really what I want to do.
So Trudy, that seems like a very time-consuming process. What is the entire process involved? I mean, you've got your own company, you've got family, you've got a lot going on in your life. Where did you find the time, and what is the process in becoming Mrs. Georgia International?
That is such a great question, David, and I so appreciate that a man would even begin to comprehend what goes into being in a pageant. It is, I call it the Super Bowl for women, because not only do you have to look your best, which involves a lot of workout and diet routine and all, but you also have to know what you're talking about, because you're competing against women who, some of them have done this their entire life, and it's just, you know, second nature to them. So yes, I had a company. Yes, I had a family. So we made it a joint decision. My husband and I, we really prayed about it and just said, you know, if this is your will, because also it's very expensive. You know, it's not for the faint at heart. It's across the board. It's like investing in a business. But when you feel passionate about the message and you know that what you're doing has something bigger than just you and that you can help other people, a lot of times that's a huge motivator. And it's like the old principle. You just start taking one step and one door opens and another door opens, and sponsors came on board. I was able to be the Quilted Northern Soft and Strong champion for the Race for the Cure. So, you know, that was very beneficial, and, you know, we got a year's supply of toilet paper out of it. So that's, with boys, that's really helpful. And so it was very time consuming, but very worthwhile, because it wasn't something that was over here like a part of my life. It is my life. My company is a company for women and men, and it's an image consulting company that helps you look your best and put your best foot forward. It's a personal development company for if you had a project where you needed to just pull it all together. We help clients with that. So everything that I've learned and put myself through, I'm able to channel it and funnel it right back through the company and just be, you know, help my clients even on a greater level. So it was all intertwined, and yes, it was very busy. I've heard it said before that if you want something done, give it to a busy person, and it's true. And you know, you make the time for what you know is important. I have to say, so the national pageant, 72 women, because it's international. So there were women from all countries. There were women from like Rocky Mountain area, you know, so it's all divided up because this particular pageant, a lot of women are interested in, because it is a way to get your message out. But anyway, so that was in July. And I'll just be right honest with you, I could probably have been the mother of most of those girls, you know. So the competition was very, very steep. So I was very honored to be in the finals. I made it to the finals, and that was in July. And so when my husband and I flew back to Atlanta, it was like July 31st. And I have to say, I was glad to have that part of the treadmill behind me, because that is a strict routine of no sweets, you know, exercise every day, studying, because you don't know what you'll be asked on stage. And when you want to look credible and promote your platform, you know, you just have to be very well-rounded. And breast cancer is a very large subject to have under your belt. So anyway, it was nice to kind of have the pressure off of that and really make sure I appreciate the smaller things in life, you know.
So was there a preliminary before the final?
Yes,
okay.
There was, and that was here in Georgia. Okay. And so this January, it'll be happening again for anyone who's interested and has a cause they're, you know, passionate about and just wants to put it out there. They can contact me, and I'll be happy to put them through the process of how to become the next Mrs. Georgia.
So you went to the finals, you came back. When were you actually crowned?
I was crowned in February of 2013. So I've been at this for a little while.
And it's been a busy schedule since then also.
Yes, very busy schedule, but again, just so happy and honored to do anything I can to get the message out there that, you know, breast cancer is survivable, and, you know, just some of the process to go through it to come out on the other side.
Yeah, and are you attending events nationally throughout the country?
Yes, mainly here in Georgia, though, because, you know, I didn't win Mrs. International. That person would go on and do things internationally,
Gotcha.
But I'm Mrs. Georgia. But I still have had some, you know, across the states travel, and it's just been wonderful. And actually, you know, working on a national campaign called the Fight Like a Girl campaign. There's a Miss America that has, kind of gone the path of Angelina Jolie and had a double mastectomy and all, and we're working together, and maybe a Fox News reporter that's had some history there as well. So, big things in the future.
So you're accomplishing your goal. You are raising that awareness.
I am. And not to plug pageants or all, but I know they have a bad reputation, but if you go into them because you want a catalyst behind you to get your message out, it's a great way for a woman or a young woman to refine herself and really just personal best and become the best she can be.
Well, we're about to go into your personal battle,
All right.
but in just a few minutes. But for right now, we're going to take up a quick break, and we're going to get inspired with this hot fitness trend.
Pilates is a core exercise based on your powerhouse, which is your abs, going all the way around through your hips. It's just a core exercise that's going to strengthen your ab muscles, which support your back, which in turn support your body. So it's really, really good for your flexibility, your joint strength, and just, keeping your back in great shape. This class is an advanced Pilates class, so these people have all been doing Pilates for some time. It's just, we go from one exercise to the next, so it's not really a class that we go in slow form. We just pick it up and keep going, and it's essentially just an hour of a lot of ab-based exercise and hip and bottom exercise. All the muscles that are in your hips and bottom go in towards your low back. So it's important to keep those strong as well so that you keep your low back in good shape. There's the mat Pilates, and there's also the Pilates that uses the apparatus, which is the Cadillac, the Reformer, and several different apparatus. The Reformer uses springs, which help you with the exercises. It's also done with a private instructor, one-on-one or maybe a small class. Versus mat class, you can get more people in, and obviously you're only using your own muscles to do the work. Pilates is great for anybody, absolutely any age, because you can modify it in any way. You can do it on a chair if you've never exercised, or you're older and have some, lack of mobility, or you can be advanced and you can always increase your challenges or decrease depending on the kind of day you're having. So if you're more tired, you can make the exercises a little less challenging. So it's awesome. I love it, and I've sworn by it for 10 years.
Welcome back to Prescription for Life. We're here with Trudy Davies Davis, Mrs. Georgia International, and the owner of the Image Academy. Trudy, I want to switch gears for a minute. Let's go back to 2008. Tell us about what you had some pretty life-altering information coming through that year.
Definitely. Well, I set the stage by saying I was a single mom of 2 teenage boys. They were 12 and 14 at the time. After being married for 20 years, I never wanted to be divorced, never thought I would be divorced. But, circumstances happen and life changes, and so so there we were. I had full custody. There were no weekends, holidays, full financial support. I mean, it was just basically those 2 boys and me. But you know what? That was okay. I'd made my mind up. Well, this was my, my thing in life, and we were going to get through it, and all was well. So 2 years into it, like I said, full financial responsibility and all, I went to the doctor, and he was like, "Trudy, honey, it's cancer." And my world just came crashing in again. And a lot of times I say to people, sometimes you think you're at the bottom, and all of a sudden there's just a new bottom, and a new level to the bottom. But I can remember sitting in the breast cancer surgeon's office, and I had to go after work because I worked full time. And I hadn't told my boys yet, and it was pouring down rain. By that time it was night, it was dark, and just sitting on the table waiting for him to come in thinking, you know, this is hell. And really just, I like to paint the picture of how dark and bleak it seemed at that time. Again, you know, I had no support system. I was the support system. You know, and so just thinking, what, you know, where do you go from here? It just seems so impossible. And so that's why, you know, I do what I do, because nothing is impossible with God. And so, you know, found out the diagnosis, and I'll just never forget going home and, you know, the boys sitting down and just, you know, telling them I had breast cancer. I mean, and I thought, after all they've been through, now this, you know, and a lot of people would say, well, what about you? And sure, I mean, I felt bad for me, but just looking in their faces, I just couldn't believe that now we were about to embark on this journey as well. And I did want to say that when I say I didn't have a support system, I didn't mean that
home, in the home.
You
were the support system.
I was the rock, and now the rock, you know, had a crack, and so
we were all amazed at how well you were able to deal with that with those boys too.
Thank you.
For our audience, can you describe what stage 3 breast cancer is?
Well, breast cancer is broken down into 4 stages. It's one way of just defining treatment paths. It's not the only way to describe it, but you know, stage 3 means that whatever type of breast cancer you have, the 3rd stage is next to the most serious, which is stage 4. So it's broken down: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And every woman, you know, wants to know, the next question once you find out that you had the breast cancer is, well, what stage is it? And so stage 3 is, you know, on the lower end of the spectrum, if you will. But again, I never want to say anything to make a woman or anyone think they're a statistic, because that was my diagnosis. But, you know, it's not, you know, it's not defined my life. And that's one thing I teach women. I won't let it define my life. You know, once you get past that fear and you're like, I won't live in fear, you may say, yeah, I have stage 3, but whatever definition of stage 3 there is doesn't necessarily have to apply to you, because I know women with stage 4 breast cancer that are doing just fine. So
the stage kind of determines the treatment. What was the treatment?
Well, I say I won the lottery, because all the while, based on my history of me telling you, you know, what my role in life at that point in time was, I was like, well, okay, I'll do this, but I won't do that. I'll do this. So, you know, first off was surgery, mastectomy, you know, removing the tumor. And then, okay, so what happens where you determine the stages during that surgery? You go into surgery not knowing if it had spread into your lymph nodes or not. So you know how you make those barters. It's like, okay, well, God, just, all right, I got breast cancer, but don't let it be in my lymph nodes, because then you know you're having chemotherapy at the very least. Well, you know, I remember waking up from the surgery totally aware of my surroundings, like it never happened, and looking at that nurse and saying, was it in my lymph nodes? And you know, when you're looking somebody face to face, what's she going to say? But all she did was just shake her head. She never uttered a word. And then again, you know, gosh, your world just falls in again. And you're like, what, how, you know, how can this be? You know, you just feel hopeless.
Well, because then the next treatment is what everybody fears is the chemoradiation.
Right, and not only if it's in your lymph nodes, you know, okay, what else? What else? So, and just preparing for that, you know, preparing for that kind of shock when 3 weeks ago you were fine, at least you thought you were, and now this. But yes, you're exactly right. So
how do you prepare yourself? I mean, you've got to do it physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. How did you prepare yourself for that?
Yes, well, you know, it was my faith, and never would I go out on air or in public to ever say that I had it all together, and that there weren't times that I was scared to death, that I cried, that I felt like, you know, poor me. Yes, I mean, you go through those stages of loss and grief, and then, but what it has to come down to is, and that's why I like to call my platform Fight Like a Girl, is it comes down to realizing that it is a fight, and somebody's going to win, and the more you can get your mind wrapped around it's going to be you, you know, it empowers you, and it just gives you almost like you're mad then. You get out of almost like that self-pity, and you go, I'm mad, and this is not how it's going to be, and, you know, with God's help, I'm going to, every step of this, I'm going to fight it, and then you just get like a determination. You know, and I never understood all my life that saying, all we have to fear is fear itself. Never did that really mean anything to me until now, because it's the fear that cripples you, and it's the fear that keeps you, I guess, in bondage, if you will, to the disease. But when you can get above that and say, you know, I am not going to fear this, because even if I die, I'm going to make sure these last few days, or however long I have on earth, I've done it my way, in that I've reached out to the people I loved, and I've made sure they know that I love them, and whatever it is on earth I stood for, I want to make sure that everyone knows. So once again, you've got the leg up.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we come back, we want to talk a little bit more about Fight Like a Girl, because that sounds really interesting to me. And before we get to the next question, we are going to take another quick break and get informed with the latest on the Affordable Care Act with Nazira Dawood.
Hello, I'm Nazira Dawood. I'm the Health Promotion Program Manager at Fulton County Department of Health and Wellness. Today, I'm here to talk about Affordable Care Act, ACA, also known as Obamacare. What is it? It means it requires residents and the citizens of U.S. to get health insurance. And what does it do? It helps it make it more affordable and accessible to any residents. What are the eligibility requirements? Number one, you have to be a U.S. resident. Number two, you have to be a U.S. citizen or a legal resident of residing in U.S. You cannot be outside of U.S. Number three, you can't be in prison or in jail. Number four, you cannot get this insurance if you already have insurance sponsored through your employer. And if you cannot afford it, of course, you can get health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. Marketplace, you must have heard about Marketplace all this time. It's not that complicated, it's simple. It's just like, let's go for groceries. You know what you want to cook. Suppose we say chicken curry. You are going into the grocery store and you're looking for either organic chicken or the regular chicken, boneless or the bone, skinned chicken. So, or you're looking for the white meat or the brown meat, right? So now you have the recipes already. That's how it's going into a marketplace. You go into healthcare.gov, www.healthcare.gov. You have 4 plans. You have the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. And each of them is going to tell you what you're going to get out of it. Easy, accessible, apples compared to apples. These are the same plans that's offered through any employer to their employees. Once you get into it, you choose the one that's the best fit for you, the one that either you go to a doctor many times a year or you go to the doctor once per year. According to that, you can choose your plan, you can choose your premiums, how much you're able to afford, do your research. And open enrollment is till March 31st, 2014. If you don't sign up by March 31st, 2014, you'd have to wait the entire year to get enrolled next year. On top of that, you might be ending up paying a penalty fee if you've not signed up. So for more information, go to www.healthcare.gov or 1-800-318-2596.
Welcome back to Prescription for Life. We're here with Trudy Davies, Mrs. Georgia International and owner of the Image Academy, and 5-year stage 3 breast cancer survivor. Overcoming stage 3 breast cancer, what's been the biggest life lesson you've learned from your experience?
Definitely, not to sound cliche, but to try to appreciate every day. And I don't want to make anybody think, oh, if I've been through cancer and I'm having a bad day, that means, you know, I'm not living life right. Because, you know, life still goes on no matter what you overcome. But for me, it's not only, you know, just trying to appreciate every day, but it's more the people in your life and just realizing that those relationships could end at any moment, and making sure that, as we were saying a little bit earlier, that the people that are important to you, and even the people you haven't met yet, that you just exude that love and acceptance, because really nothing else matters. You know, I don't think that you have to accept and tolerate, you know, bad behavior or whatever, but just knowing that people are pretty much across the board doing the best they can, and you are too, and just to make sure that when you leave someone, they know that you accept them and love them.
Focusing a little bit more on the importance rather than the trivial.
Absolutely. And what a blessing, you know, because life can get, so a lot of times, you know, being a mom, being a dad, having younger kids where it's just day in, day out, it does seem like a grind at times. So I feel like now looking back in the rearview mirror, I was able to have a big interruption of that and say, hold on, just like you said, the trivial here is only trivial. We're talking in the picture of life. You know, if you died today, how would you want your kids to remember the relationship you had with them? Not necessarily how would they remember you, but how you made them feel.
Well, and knowing you as I have, your focus has always been on others. I mean, ever since I've known you.
I've tried to.
Which makes me want to go towards, tell me about Fight Like a Girl and how you're helping others with that.
Well, that saying just resonated with me through my experience, and I just said, you know, that's the message I want to get out, because yes, I agree, breast cancer awareness is huge, 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 and there's a lot of energy and money, you know, put into that, and that is huge and it's important. But for the woman that's already been diagnosed, guess what? Awareness doesn't really matter. She's very aware. So I try to come in at the point of survival. Like, I want to help that woman survive, and I do, and it's been probably one of my greatest rewards in life is having women that I don't even know reach out to me and ask me questions that you just cannot ask somebody who's not been through it. And so I'm an advocate for women going through breast cancer. I help them through, you know, the basics down to, you know, having a wig, to some of even the bigger questions in life. So that is what Fight Like a Girl is about, empowering that woman to maintain her self-esteem through the battle of breast cancer.
Yeah, so it's here, now what, rather than just
Right,
the treatment.
right.
And every oncologist I've ever worked with has said it's the attitude of the patient that has such a huge impact on their ability to fight and recover.
Yes, yes. And so, you know, I try to tell women about, you know, I have a certain sayings. The first thing I tell them is, you know, don't live in fear. You're not a statistic. And I really encourage women not to go on the internet, because a doctor that I've worked for before says paper won't refuse ink. So you don't even know if what you're reading is accurate, and that just creates a lot of fear. So I really encourage them not to go online and look at a lot of things. And then the last thing that was huge for me, someone gave me and empowered me and told me, be the captain of your own ship, because all this information is coming at you, all these decisions that you feel like you've got to make in a split second about life altering. You'll never go back, you know, once you've made some of these decisions. You can't change them, and they're irreversible. And so give yourself permission to think it through and go, you know what, that doesn't work for me. And just like you said, because that attitude, you've got to know yourself, and there may be some treatments that don't work for you. So don't live in fear and just feel like you've got to do everything anyone suggests, because you might need to just back up, give yourself some time, and come in at a different angle.
Well, Trudy, thanks for coming. It's so good
Thank you,
seeing you
Davis.
again.
Great
It's
seeing
been
you,
too long
as
sometimes,
always.
too. We hope you have been inspired by today's show. I know that I have been. I'm your host, David Boll, and I'm reminding you to be healthy, active, and well-informed. We'll see you next time on Prescription for Life.